Hello and welcome back to ClearCast, the real estate fintech podcast. This is episode 10. We're in double digits now, Kenon.
Crazy.
I know. I'm Jeff Allen, joined as always by Kenon Chen. And for those of you who may be watching on video, you will now see that we have incredibly professional and cool virtual backgrounds. Kenon, you look awesome in that fake office.
Oh, I lost my hand. My hand disappeared.
For people only listening on audio, you're missing some incredible visual wizardry of Kenon messing around with his virtual background.
Vanna White has nothing on me.
So this is a fun episode. This is a 2020 year in review. And we're going to be joined by the CEO and co-founder of Clear Capital, Duane Andrews, who also happens to be our boss later in the episode, to give his year in review and talk about what 2020 has meant for him and for Clear Capital. But we're going to start with a Jeff and Kenon year in review and get our unlearned, uninformed take on things.
Unschooled, if you will.
So we're going to dig into some of the specific trends and events in 2020 that really surprised us, and we're going to focus just on positive stuff, because as Kenon put it eloquently when we were prepping for this episode, everybody knows all the crappy stuff already. The crappy stuff of 2020 is well documented, so we're going to focus on the positive. So Kenon, let's start with the first trend that is a positive surprise for us in 2020, and that is real estate technology going remote for both home shopping and appraisal. What stood out to you?
Yeah, well, obviously, a lot of this technology has already been developed or has been used on a smaller percentage of homes, both 3D tours or 360 virtual tours, video walkthroughs, anything where you can experience the home without visiting it. But man, all of those things got a shot in the arm and got adopted a lot more. Also, just people using their smartphone to schedule FaceTime walkthroughs and any other type of video walkthrough. It really took off this year. And because it did, I think that enabled the mortgage industry as well to feel more confident about getting data for the appraisal and for the loan process from other people, from listing agents, from homeowners, which is great because that actually in a lot of ways speeds up the process. It keeps people safe. It reduces scheduling, appointment issues and all those things. So pretty cool. And now COVID flexibilities for appraisal just got extended all the way through to January. So it doesn't seem like that trend's going away anytime soon. But there's now a ton of new technology out there and apps for helping homeowners out.
Yeah, and it's just amazing how kind of overnight an entire industry of homeowner data collection apps, came into existence. We're actually going to talk to Duane Andrews a little bit later in this episode about our experience, rapidly building a homeowner data collection app for appraisal. And I think, certainly without COVID, that trend would have been a lot slower.
Yeah,
so definitely a positive. The second trend in 2020 that surprised us is home buying trends shifting away from the city.
Mm-hmm. I guess these are kind of related when you think about it, huh? I mean, the Zoomtown trend definitely stood out to us this year. People buying homes where they want to live, not just where they want to work, and so buying in ski towns, resort towns, places where people really wanted a certain type of community and and not tied to where they had to commute. So our hometown, or our company's hometown, I should say, of Truckee, California, experienced this year. We talked about it a few times, but that's happening all around the country. And I guess, when we think about it, the virtual showing, virtual tours, all of this kind of fuels that, right? Because now you can start shopping and get a really good idea of the area of homes, even if you don't live anywhere near there, before you're actually ready to buy. So yeah, what do you think? I mean, it seems like with the vaccine maybe not being fully available till mid next year, or rolled out till mid next year, I can't see this trend slowing down too much, huh?
No, and I think remote work, if it lasts in some form, beyond the end of the pandemic, that's going to be the driving force that maintains this. Redfin data that we've seen in an Inman article shows that the share of large homes sold, large homes sales were up 21% year over year, whereas smaller sailed homes or sized homes, the increase in sales was a lot less. And that's being driven in a lot of ways by the fact that if I don't have to live in the city right next to my office, I'm going to choose for more square footage.
Yeah, because I want an actual office as opposed to the kitchen. I don't want to work in the kitchen anymore. I'm done.
Exactly right. That leads into our third and final trend that we were surprised by, and that is really how effective this whole remote working thing was. I think, and is. I think coming into when the pandemic first started, we all had some concern that maybe innovation might slow down with everybody working from home. You don't have the kind of serendipitous bump into somebody at the water cooler and hash out a new idea thing. I think there was some concern around that, but realistically, this has been a big year for innovation. There's been a lot of collaboration between customers, regulators, vendors, and it's actually been surprisingly easy to develop new relationships, even in a remote working environment. And I think I hate to say it because I love to travel for work, but I think the destruction of work travel has actually been a huge boom to collaboration and innovation. Instead of waiting months to try and get an in-person visit to some other city booked so you can collaborate with a customer, just ask if they can get on a Zoom call tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And so the quantity of interactions is way up, even if they're not as of high quality, because you're not getting dinner and drinks and going out and hanging out with your customer or your other collaborator. Just the sheer quantity of discussions you can have is way higher.
Maybe that's just because of how personable you are, though, Jeff.
Could be. From your experience personally, Kenon, not everybody knows this, but in 2019, Kenon was like a road warrior. You were traveling 3 weeks out of every month, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I this is actually the first time, in, I don't know, 10, 15 years for me of being at home more than I'm, traveling around. So in that way, it's been really good. It's still strange though, in a way, right? Just used to being in front of people, and I have to say nothing will replace that. I understand, Jeff, that you can do this really well over video, but there's something about being, in front of someone that I don't want to quite give up on yet. So I'm gonna be looking forward to at least a little more travel, a little bit.
I am with you on that. I do miss it. I just think that if we can all try to take some positive from this, it's that we can be productive in a remote working environment, and we don't have to all travel 4 weeks out of the month. So maybe we can find a balance in the middle.
Balance. There's a word. Moderation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, that is the Jeff and Kenon year in review. And before we dig into our interview with Duane, it's time for the real estate joke of the pod. Are you ready, Kenon?
I'm ready, but I don't like the fact that you can see my facial expressions now on video. I can't hide anything, so I'm just gonna try to keep it straight face as long as possible here. Yeah.
You do whatever you got to do. I know deep down you love these jokes, so it doesn't really matter to me. You know what you're doing with your face. It's fine.
Very deep down, very deep down.
Okay. As with all jokes recently, this is an original joke. So there's this loan officer, right? You with me so far?
I'm with you. Mm-hmm.
The loan officer is sitting in his office, and in the front door off the street walks a pirate. That's right. An actual pirate walks in to the loan officer's office.
Mm-hmm.
Real deal. He's got an eye patch. He's got an actual parrot on his shoulder, because that's pretty common with the pirates. And one of his legs is actually like a wooden peg. He's kind of like limping around, kind of like tilted to the side, all hunched over with this wooden leg, right?
Yeah.
And he walks up to the loan officer and he says, "Arrgh, matey, I be needing a mortgage." Your reaction to this so far is just fantastic. I'm so happy. So he says that to the loan officer. The loan officer's like, "Great, let's get started on that loan app right away." Yes, but you see, I will need my parrot Petey here to be a co-signer on the loan. The loan officer stops for a second and thinks, "Well, I'm not even sure it's legal to allow an animal to enter into a legal contract. It might not be ethical." See where this goes. Why do you need the parrot to be a co-signer on your mortgage? The pirate, he's hunched to the side, he has wooden leg. "Well, you see, matey, I have had some recent financial troubles. I recently had a disagreement with a contractor who was working on my home. I never paid him for the work he'd done, as I had used up all my money buying Petey the parrot here. So the contractor has put a claim in court against my home." Oh, the loan officer is like, "Oh, that's terrible. I'm so sorry to hear that. Have you been able to save up some money and maybe pay the contractor back and get that claim against your house removed?" "Sadly, no. Due to my wooden leg, I'm unable to walk straight, and so have not been able to find gainful employment." And the loan officer is like, "Wow, geez, that sucks. I mean, whether it's, maybe losing your house to that contractor or not having a job due to your crooked walk, it definitely seems like you've been challenged by involuntary liens." Do you get it?
It's too much. Yes, I get the involuntary liens. But I have to say, the funniest part about the joke is that a pirate said gainful employment.
Yeah, that's kind of unreal, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, the accent. Too much.
Kind of Irish a little bit, but with a brogue.
With an R at the end. Well, thanks, Jeff, for that amazing joke experience. We'd like to now introduce Duane Andrews, the CEO of Clear Capital and co-founder, and who's our friend and someone I've known for 20 years now. And Duane founded REOnetwork.com when he was a real estate broker, which connected REO asset managers together with real estate professionals, and then went on to co-found Clear Capital, which is a people-centric business focused on valuations, real estate analytics, and innovative platform services. And as CEO, Duane works alongside almost 700 nice people to provide services to almost all of the top 100 US lenders, to mortgage investors and servicers and the GSEs. And Duane earned his bachelor's degree from Biola University and has an MBA from USC. And he lives in Incline Village in Lake Tahoe and likes to do all kinds of fun stuff there. alongside with his wife, Becky. So we're really excited to have you, Duane. Thanks for being on the show.
Oh yeah, you really are excited. I can tell because Kenon's the head of our marketing department, and we were talking about doing some press releases and some different launches and announcements. And they said, "Oh, we want to hold off. We don't want to do it in December, because in December people are distracted and it'll get looked over." Like 3 days later, Kenon says, "Hey, you want to do December?" So I really appreciate everybody listening to the December podcast.
That's not true for the podcast. I'm pretty sure that everyone's going to want to hear this this
Okay,
podcast
at least
under
four
time
people.
Off.
At least
Under
four.
time off.
Yeah.
No, thanks for doing this.
Thank
And yeah, we thought with this podcast being focused on real estate, fintech, the bridge between what's happening in the real estate world and the mortgage finance world. Your journey into this world actually perfectly mirrors that, right? Didn't you start as a real estate broker? Tell us kind of how that led into where you are now.
Yeah, broker was part of it. I actually started out, when I graduated from Biola, I went worked for KPMG, Pete Marwick, and I was down in San Jose, and we had a lot of tech audits. We had Adobe Systems, National Semiconductor. And those were the cool audits to be on, and they're really the ones that everybody wanted to be on and get assigned to. But we also had a few smaller financial institutions like Santa Clara Savings and Salinas National. I don't know how Salinas and National go together, but it was a institution there. And so they asked the first year auditors, who'd like to do those, and there were no takers, but I raised my hand. I was the only one that raised the hand, and I went down to there. And the first one I did was Santa Clara Savings, and the CFO there was just an amazing guy. He, when I asked him an audit question, he'd say, "Hey, this is the answer, but you want to know why?" And I was asking him about why he is selling, for example, why is he selling the mortgages that he is making, is not keeping in his portfolio, and why is he selling them off to Goldman Sachs? And then why are you purchasing from Goldman Sachs these things called CMOs, collateralized mortgage obligations? And he says, "Okay, I'll tell you why, but let's go to lunch." So we went to lunch, and he explained the benefits to the organization, the reduced solvency risk, because he was buying back different tranches when he bought those loans back, those CMOs, and he also reduced his geographic risk, because as at that time it was just at the tail end of the oil and gas crisis in the 80s. He said, "Man, look at Denver. Look at what happened in Houston. I don't want that happening to my organization if Silicon Valley goes through a struggling time. So I'm reducing that risk. I know I'm paying a little premium because I'm selling these mortgages to Goldman Sachs, and they're combining them, and I'm actually buying some of the same mortgages back in little pieces. I'm paying a little bit of a premium, but it benefits the organization in those two ways." I fell in love with the industry at that point. It's fascinating. You don't learn that kind of stuff at school. It's really the heart of the industry we're all in, is that line of thinking, and how some of these products can help reduce risk and improve returns. So after that, I signed up for every institution I could, and then I was on an audit, a bank audit in Fresno. There was a small regional institution there, and I was down there for 13 weeks. Yeah, no wonder nobody else volunteered. So while I'm down there, though, it hit me. I go, man, I've been in all these audits, and each one of these institutions has a valuations department, and an REO department, a servicing department, property preservation department. These smaller institutions all had duplicate departments that kind of mirrored each other, but they had a lot of overhead, and it was very inefficient. That sometimes it'd be really busy, sometimes it wouldn't be that busy, but they still had to maintain the departments. So I called my father up in Fresno. And I said, Dad, I know what I want to do. And he goes, what? You know, what do you mean you know what I do? I says, I want to do third-party services. I'm like on a regional or national basis that these smaller institutions can tap into, and they won't have to have so many different departments and so much overhead. We'll be more efficient. We'll have a national, regional or national footprint to help service them. So they'll and I don't. There's not anything like that right now out there. And so my dad says, of course, he's a really nice guy, but he's a dad. He says, Duane, you're 23. You don't know what you want to do. I think I do, Dad. I really do. So I'm going to do this. I really am. So went to USC, got a degree in real estate finance, which is pretty applicable what we do now, and an MBA there. And then I started up an REO asset management company brokerage in Northern California, in the Bay Area. And we were doing about 25% of the REO management, REO properties under management for the Northern California region, and that. But I was getting frustrated because my clients, they said, Duane, find me somebody like you in Spokane. Find me somebody like a company like yours in Kansas City. And the reason they wanted to find somebody like you was the attention to service, the low noise philosophy that we had toward our customers. I one time got a phone call from an asset manager at a bank, and he said, Duane, he goes, I'm pissed off right now. I am really pissed off. He goes, I'm looking at this closing statement, and I see on here that you paid $600 for a well treatment, and it was a property up in the mountains above Napa, and the well needed to be treated for the sale. So but I negotiated with the buyer's agent, and I negotiated with the buyer. We went a third, and he goes, well, you didn't even call me. You didn't even ask me to contribute. No, I didn't, Phil. I don't want to. I go, you don't hire me to give you noise and little phone calls. Like, you hire me to get the job done, to sell the property. My goal is, well, you give me a property, the next thing you know, you get a check. That's the goal. He loved that, and that was what set us apart. And that is actually what Clear Capital does now. That's what we're about now. You give us the orders, we're going to get them done. Next thing you know, once you get it, you're going to have fulfillment. It's going to be done with very little noise. So that's kind of the progression of what led to where we are now. The final step on that was the establishment of REO Network, which answered the question that, to Duane, could you find me somebody here and there? Yes, we found a way. And in 1999, I called this guy named Kenon Chen. And he probably, I don't know if it's you, Kenon, but I still remember that conversation we had. Totally, completely. It's frozen in time in my mind, and it's in a good way. And talked to he was doing web development, worked for a web development firm at the time, and he put that site together, REO Network, for me. And he and his team, they got the site completed for only $1,300, and they promised me they'd get it done in 3 weeks. Kenon and team got it done in 2 weeks. Unbelievable. I still can't believe it. That's how good he and his team are. So I told my wife, I am not letting this guy go. I have got to keep in contact with this guy, and fortunately he let me. So REO Network, then we had at that stage, we had over 3,000 agents on it that focus on REO properties that are good, and that as a part of the REO process, they need to be very good and skilled at two things. Number one, valuations for the listing package, and number two, dealing with and knowing how to manage effectively a corporate relationship, so a relationship with a institution, and that's a special skill set for a real estate broker. I mean, it's not everybody is cut out for it, but there are some people that really embrace it and are great at it, and they get constant repeat business because of it. So that database had those folks. So what next? What next came was utilizing that great data set of the best data set of real estate agents who dealing with corporate clients and good at valuation, and utilizing that and putting a fulfillment platform, a broker price opinion fulfillment platform, making that available to those agents and available to our clients so that they could get BPO, broker price opinions, completed in an extremely efficient manner, easy to QC, well organized and searchable, and it took off like crazy. Clients loved it. In fact, we had one quote from a large institution that said that Clear Capital and their platform makes me 80% more efficient in my workday. That's how good the system was that Kenon was a big part of building. What a great platform for growth! Having that robust technology like that, having that service mentality that started way back in the REO, actually back in Fresno, and seeing that the need there. And combining those two, a blend of the best technology available and the best service mentality and available to produce what we call is whoever it leads, whatever it takes company, and that's what Clear Capital is.
Yeah, I think 13 Weeks in Fresno is a great title for a sad country song.
It was sad. It was really depressing. It really was. Yeah, it stayed at Holiday Inn Express or whatever. I don't even know if they had Holiday Inn Expresses there at that time, but it was something like that.
Yeah,
I know it was.
That song's writing itself right now.
I know.
Exactly. It's such a great story, and obviously Clear Capital is such a different company now than when we started. Back when it was really focused on, like you said, REO network first, and then primarily, broker price opinions. So obviously, a very different company now. But thinking back to those roots in, your experience with foreclosures, REO properties, and that whole kind of portion of the mortgage space, it's actually really relevant right now. Sadly, given the fact that there's a record number of loan delinquencies going on with COVID. So, obviously the role of valuations and REO is about to start getting more important again. How important are quality valuations in that servicing process, and what sorts of things is Clear Capital doing to prepare for, sadly, what might be a big year next year for servicing?
Yeah. During the financial crisis, it was a terrible time, but it forced all of us to raise our game in a lot of ways, and one of the ways that and even the government encouraged was loan modifications and accurate valuations are critical for making the right decision. So when a institution is on the phone, a servicing operations on the phone, or servicing operation on the phone with a homeowner, they've got the information to help assess, what track should they take? Does the homeowner have a lot of equity? Oh my goodness, there's a lot of there are a lot of options to help this person and this family. Even if they can't make the payments, doesn't mean they shouldn't be in the home. They should be in the home. that they just need to work together. They just need to work together with the homeowner to figure it out so that it could be a win-win situation. And without an accurate property valuation, that can't occur actually. Or next step, should they consider accepting a short sale? That's important for a lot of reasons. We don't, they don't want valuation is accurate so that institutions aren't saying no when they should be saying yes to short sales. But on the other hand, they don't want to be leaving a lot of money on the table either, and incurring unnecessary losses. So, man, it's critical to it. Even all the way to the point if it sadly it goes all the way to a foreclosure through the foreclosure process to the end, a trustee sale or judicial sale, then institutions then utilize valuations to actually assess whether they should modify their initial bid price to attract a third party purchaser. So they'll actually, even if, for example, there's $200,000 is owed on a property, if a liquidation value on that property that is determined by a reputable valuation firm is at 175 on liquidation value, they might not even start the bidding at 200 because they know that they won't get a bid. Mm-hmm. And instead of taking that property over, let's go ahead and let private industry and private individuals make that purchase, and they can supervise the rehab and the sale and manage that. So they'll go ahead and say, hey, we have reduced carrying costs, reduce risk, more efficient. We're going to come in, even though it's 175 liquidation, we're going to come in at 160. That happens all the time, but accurate valuation is critical for that. And so, yeah, it is super, super important during these times.
So it's interesting how this creates this sort of virtuous cycle, if you will. So if an accurate valuation was used to put the property, back on the market and let it go through, the right process there. Yeah. Now you're looking at the buy side, right? A buyer in real estate trying to make a decision on purchasing a property, and getting finance for it. And so, in recent years, we've got, folks like Zillow and Redfin and others, providing a lot of information up front about properties, about even, through the Zestimate and other tools, what it might be worth and property characteristics on it. And then you have lenders on the other side, on the finance side, lenders trying to get involved earlier in the process, providing, information up front. So you have this kind of interesting, overlap that's going on there.
It really does.
What do you see as Clear Capital's role in bridging those two worlds?
Yeah,
together?
that's why. That's why they call it the real estate cycle. Because it does. It just keeps going around and around and around. So you're right. It's really neat how the real estate, the realtor industry, technology, and finance are all working together, and they should. It makes sense to benefit the consumer, benefit the consumer, and benefit the investor down the road. And in order to do that in the best way possible, let's get the turn times down. In other words, there's no real reason that it should take 3 weeks to 6 weeks in some locations to get a valuation done when somebody's kids are starting school in 2 weeks. Okay. Makes no sense. Okay. In that new location. So they want to move, they want to get going. Let's make it happen. Let's find a way to make it happen. And so the interests are all aligned there. They want to get those kids in school, and we can do it. We haven't been successful in years past history and make that happen, but with even COVID, and we'll talk a little more. Hopefully, you guys are asked. We'll talk about that a little bit more current, the current stuff on COVID a bit later. But yeah, it is highlighted the fact, man, we've got to make things more efficient. We've got to make things more frictionless, and so we've got the financial institutions and investors clamoring for it. We've got consumers clamoring for it. We've got real estate agents clamoring for it. And guess what? We've got innovative technology that is boy, the pace of development there and the strides are being made are just incredible. So yeah, it's all coming together in a beautiful way. I'm excited about 2021 and some of the additional, because the momentum is just increasing in that way.
Yeah. And speaking of COVID, I mean, it certainly accelerated a number of real estate technology and appraisal modernization projects for the industry. I not all of our listeners would necessarily know this, but this year, the GSEs enabled temporary COVID flexibilities that allow a variety of different things for appraisals to be done differently, but kind of most critically, they've allowed essentially that a homeowner can collect data on behalf of the appraiser about their home. So the appraiser doesn't have to go in the home. And Duane, you actually were super instrumental in helping push for that and to push Clear Capital to have a solution.
Yeah.
We developed our owner insight application in 9 days and launched it this year, which was really exciting. Talk us through that. What was that like when COVID was starting for you and we were kind of launching that owner insight app, and walk us through your feelings?
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk about, oh boy, what's going to happen? Are people going to even be able to do mortgages? I mean, seriously, that's what that was a topic of conversation in March. Yeah. Are we just have to push the pause button on the entire mortgage industry now? And a conversation came rushing back in my head that I had with a senior executive at a major institution about 2 years ago, and we were at a charity benefit, and he said, "Man, Duane," he says, "You know what I see? I see a day when the homeowner can go gather information that on their property and present it to an appraiser, and an appraiser can take that property data and those images and create a credible valuation in a very efficient manner and very quickly." And I kind of looked at him going, yeah, I was thinking, I didn't tell him because he's our customer. But I was thinking, yeah, I hope I live to see the day, maybe, I'll be 80 or something. And then COVID hit. And so right away, I took that concept that he gave me that night, and I wrote a abbreviated like white paper plan up and within 24 hours, and wrote that up, floated it by the executive team, and of course there's it wasn't buttoned down, but man, really great enthusiasm. And so I called up that executive right away, and I said, "Bill, the day has come." I thought it was going to be down the road, but it is today. And he goes, "What are you talking about?" And I says, here's the plan. I said, you mentioned homeowner data collection. I go, this will help the mortgage industry continue on. I said, and these are some of the safeguards that we're going to build. We're building into this. We're building it, a geocoding of the location, so we know that we could match to in industry accepted geocodes that we purchase. and have that matching of location. So we know we have a strong assurance that those photos and images were taken from that, and that is the property. Yeah, and we are going to, of course, timestamp that we're going to make sure that this is not aged, and there'll be some benefit. All the people are always, and understandably worried about appraiser independence. Well, that's also going to improve through this process. Mm-hmm. And so and you're right, within 8 days, our tech team built what we call our versions called Owner Insight. Mm-hmm. And we went out and we not only utilized it for the valuations that we do, but we made it available to the entire industry, so that even our competitors, any appraiser, any financial institution, anybody, they could utilize this technology free of charge, and we would provide a support team during it was like 12 hours a day during the week, and then 7 hours on the weekends, free of charge, and answer any questions. And that really helped. Not only for the reports that were completed using that, but I think, and I know the GSEs have told me that really helped people's mentality. Like, hey, we can do this.
Yeah, we
can figure a way to in a low risk manner continue doing appraisals and continue lending in 2020.
Yeah, it's amazing the momentum that was created around that. I mean,
yeah,
you saw this huge acceleration of companies, jumping in and like, yeah, we can do that too. Yeah, we can do that. And it was great for the industry. That now there was so many different paths that appraisers could use to get data. Duane, I describe you as a glasses half full type of guy. You're one of the most positive people that I know, and that's that's a pretty amazing thing to have a leader of a company be so positive. So I'm curious to see, as you look back on 2020, I keep hearing people saying, "Oh, 2020 is a challenging year. It's been a hard year." There's a lot of just saying that over and over. But I'm kind of curious from your perspective, when you look back on 2020. What are you proud of?
Yeah.
But also what advice would you give to maybe up and coming business leaders or founders as to how to think about navigating times of crisis? Kind of lessons learned, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I think 2020 was tough, and so many things, and you hear people, kids getting sick and not making it, and oh man, that is just unbelievable. And then the fear that is out in the air, and the anxiety that people feel. I mean, all of that is really, really hard. It's hard, so hard on me too, and very hard to think about those things, and to have it, and some of it impacting me and my family, and so so the hardest part, I think, in 2020 for me and Clear Capital was in the face of that, saying, wait a minute, is it all garbage, really? Is it? No, it's not. There are some positive things that can be gleaned out of a negative situation, and we talk about that a lot at Clear Capital, turning negatives into positives. That's a big part of a leader's job, turning negatives into positives, finding opportunity in what looks like just a tough situation, but saying, wait a minute, we even if we can only make things 0.1% better, we're making it better. We're doing something. So the toughest part for me personally was number one, staying empathetic, totally, and that's staying empathetic to what's happening out there. Not only with COVID, but with the social unrest. Oh man, stay empathetic. Keep your humanism and always care about the people around you. But also you realize and have the discipline to think that because there are hurting people, because there are adverse circumstances, and because we have been blessed to have an opportunity to help people in those difficult circumstances, it is our responsibility, our duty to help them. And it feels really good inside. It really does. And that makes it fun. So that's the last. In 2020, we did a number of things in our company, but one of the things is that we did well is we decided we weren't going to have layoffs, for example, and our facilities people are still with us, our front desk people are still with us, and but we cross-trained them for the times, and I think our entire organization is really proud of that. I know I am, and we did that for ourselves. We also did it so that you mentioned earlier about the increase in foreclosures and we want to be ready. We want to be ready to help when the tide turns, and in order to be ready, we need to have the people that are good at what that they do here, not somewhere else, not changing industries, keeping them here. So I'm super proud of that. I think that's the number one thing that I'm proud of, that we kept our chin up, that we did things like owner insight, that we're doing things to streamline the mortgage process, we took 2020 and said we're going to invest in people, invest in processes, invest in technology, and when 2021 hits, we are going to be stronger going into it.
Yeah, well put. So as we think about 2021, this is our last podcast of the year, and our final question for you today.
Oh boy!
So put on your prediction wizard.
Oh yeah, everybody predicted 2020. So I mean, it was crazy. We were actually being called into meetings with different institutions and economists, and they were saying, it's going to be, the mortgage year 2020 it's not going to be as robust as it was, so think about that, and plan for that. And then COVID hits, and then it was really like, oh my gosh, is there even, and like I mentioned earlier, is there even a mortgage industry? Are there going to be any evaluations needed at all this year? And then as you read, and I was reading again yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, it's the biggest mortgage origination year in history. Unbelievable, totally. So. That's a big intro to that you're asking me to predict. Okay, but I will do. I do have some predictions. So and as it relates to valuations, with the COVID flexibilities that have had to occur this year for valuations. And some of the things that we've been able to do to help out in those things, and with some technologies that we're adopting and developing and promoting, that it is making valuations so much more streamlined, efficient, and accurate that in 2020, for conforming mortgages, the 80% of the borrowers are going to be able to get a collateral thumbs up or thumbs down within 1 day, a collateral assessment evaluation, and in 1 day, 80% of the conforming. I didn't say all, because like the jumbos or the one remote locations, but I really believe it.
By end of 2021.
By the end of 2021, 80%.
All right.
Okay, but I'm cheating a little bit because like waivers are like 40% or 30, so that's now I got 40 more percent. So I'm cheating on that a little. So yeah, within the same day, 80%.
All right.
You'll. Yeah, I'll be. Hey, can I come back on next December? That way I could say that you guys didn't believe in me, but it was true. Okay.
I love that. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks.
But say that again, Jeff.
Said, what makes you think we don't believe you?
The tone in your voice, it's pretty obvious. The question in 2021, that comes a little bit of a tell.
Oh, that's great. No, well, Duane, you continue to be an inspiring leader, for us, and there's 2021 calling right now. No, thanks so much for spending the time with us and letting us, have fun with this podcast this year. And I think it's the perfect way to wrap up the year to have you on here. So
yeah, thank you.
We're gonna get the most amount of listens of any episode.
My mom will listen. Thank you. I had a lot of fun.